Hi, Karen here. Welcome to the second conversation I've had with my friend Chris. This video is going to be devoted to talking to Chris about his activism. Chris is extremely active in the world of getting cannabis legalized for anyone, not only people with disabilities, but also anybody who suffers from a whole host of things that cannabis can be used for. So please stay tuned.
Hello.
What would your life be like if you didn't have cannabis?
I'd be bedbound.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not even just pain relief?
Oh, it's not just pain, it's everything. It's my brain fog, my cognitive ability, my bowel and bladder control, my pain never leaves me, I'm always in pain.
You're always, like, you're in pain right now?
Oh yeah, the only time I'm not in pain is when I'm asleep. Does it make my life better on a daily basis? Yeah, absolutely it does. There's no negative consequence to my action. If I had a heart defect and I was on heart medication, no one would criminalise me for that. Last time I checked, there were over 7,000 registered cannabis strains on the market worldwide. When you grow up, at some point you become aware that there's alcohol, and you make a decision quite early on what type of alcohol you want to try. But as you get older, you determine what you like. Within that red wine and white wine, there's hundreds of different grape varieties. And you might like a certain grape, but you might only like it grown in Australia, not in Spain. And it's exactly the same.
Well, that's just crazy talk, isn't it? Australian wine being better than Spanish wine? Don't go too crazy on that.
What I always encourage people to do is to try it, and if they find a strain that works for them, then keep trying it, and then try another one, and try another one, and try another one.
So you can, not only can you get different strains, then you get weaker to stronger.
Yeah.
You get different active chemicals within each of the
Different
strains as well.
cannabinoids, different terpene profiles.
Cannabinoids.
Each and every plum of them have difficulty in conversing with the people they meet in everyday life.
Fortunately, I now have a longer list of what works for me, whereas before I had a longer list of what didn't work for me. It's non-toxic. The reported deaths of cannabis now is equal to the amount of deaths of people gored by unicorns. Zero.
Wow.
It's the same.
It's not like crack cocaine or heroin,
crack
is
is whack. Just say no. The thing is with heroin though, here's an interesting thing. People break their hip, go into a hospital, and they're given dimorphine. Dimorphine is heroin. When they come out, they're not addicted to it. They don't go and score themselves a bag of brown off a street corner. Doctors are happy to prescribe me a lot of opiate-based medication, morphine. It's important to make people aware that opiates work on the same part of your brain as your respiratory regulatory system. So if you overdose on opiates, you might stop breathing. Cannabis does not work on that same system, so you can't overdose on cannabis. Cannabis is a safe, non-toxic plant. Cannabis isn't a cure for anything, but it has the potential to help your body and give it a chance. Two types of cannabis consumers on the planet, those that do and those that don't. There's no such thing as medical cannabis, it's just cannabis. I think it's important to talk about, people hear the sensationalist stories in the media about cannabis causing psychosis. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. You've got to have a predisposed susceptibility to a psychotic illness, and cannabis then may become a trigger. Say now that's 5% of people that ever try cannabis. So the prohibitionists are trying to stop 95% of people consuming it to keep 5% of people safe. That's not done. They don't do it with alcohol or tobacco or prescription drugs. There's opioid epidemics all over the world. People are dying from prescription drugs.
Yeah.
Because it was an opiate made in a factory, not by some fella up a mountain or some fella in his bedroom, it's okay. The plant is called Cannabis sativa. Marijuana is a made-up word, doesn't mean anything. It's steeped in racism.
I want to contact Trump statement on marijuana. Can I get it out of this son of a bitching domestic council? Sure. I mean, one on marijuana that just tears the ass off of them. I see another thing in the news summary this morning, but it's a funny thing. Every one of the bastards that are out for legalizing marijuana is Jewish. What the Christ is the matter with the Jews, Bob? What is the matter with them? By God, we are going to get the marijuana thing.
Used demonize Mexicans when they came into America. Mexicans used cannabis. Cannabis in this country is still illegal, but you can get a cannabis prescription if you're prepared to pay for it.
And what's the cost of that?
700 quid.
What?
An ounce of cannabis, which currently I consume in a week. So for me, it would cost me 2,800 quid a month.
Oh my God. And that's what the law changed to last November.
Well, the government maintains they changed the law, and cannabis is now going to be available to anybody that needs it. Unfortunately, there's no pathway to the NHS unless you have primary progressive MS, which I do. And they prescribed me a drug called sativa, which is a really, really weak cannabis tincture. The United Kingdom are now the largest exporters of cannabis for medicine in the world. The people of this country can't access it because the government, until November, maintained it had no medicinal value, while allowing a company called GW Pharmaceuticals to grow cannabis in this country since 1996.
Probably the most TLC for a weed I've ever heard of.
One would hope so.
For the last 22 years, 23 years. Wow.
And I can't grow it myself.
Dr. Jeffrey Guy, who runs GW Pharmaceuticals, says it has to be this way because they're trying to do something no other pharmaceutical company in the world is attempting, turning the actual marijuana plant into a prescription drug.
Victoria Atkins, our drug minister, her husband works for British Sugar, who happen to be the company that are growing all this cannabis. Theresa May's husband, Philip, his company are the largest private shareholders in the company that grow cannabis. Half the states in America, hundreds of millions of people worldwide, and hundreds of millions of people in Europe have access to cannabis.
The UK's the weird one.
Yes. Prohibition is a political mindset. It starts and ends with you. Legality should not be a grounding for morality. Homosexuality was illegal. Women voting was illegal. That's not morally right, is it? Just because something's illegal doesn't mean it's morally right. Cannabis is illegal. Is that moral? No. Not when hundreds of millions of people all over the planet have access. And because we live on an antiquated island,
We're stuck with it.
cannabis was made legal in California in 1996. So they've had 20 years of people consuming cannabis. So any fears that people have, go and look at the data from California. Because we live in a Western medicalized society where you go to the doctor, you tell them what's wrong, they give you a pill. If that pill doesn't work, then you go back and they'll give you
Get
another one.
another pill.
And it's just a process of elimination. All cannabis is a chance. I was able to be part of a network of people that do provide cannabis medication for sick children. We were able to help a little boy get some medication who's got a really serious disease. He needs a bone marrow transplant. That's a gift, as far as I'm concerned. Is it illegal? Yeah, of course it is, but who cares? What's more important, legality or your life? Prohibition is based on nothing. It's not based on science, it's not based on fact. It was based on the racist fears of middle-aged and old white men. That's where prohibition stems from.
Any questions?
But I maintain the evidence against marijuana isn't in yet.
Well, sir, will you concede that it might be as harmful as alcohol?
Now they just want to be the dealer. They want to be your supplier, your grower, and your dealer.
Yeah.
They don't care about people's health.
No.
If they cared about people's health, then cannabis would be legal for anybody that wanted to try it. Anybody over the age of 18. How can they say that it's they're looking out for people's health when you can go and buy cigarettes and alcohol if you're over the age of 18? Yeah. My thing is with cannabis, make it legal. If people want to access it, if they pay their money, the government get 20% tax on everything. I'm not an advocate for a black market model at all. I'd encourage people to think about where their cannabis comes from. No prison is worse than my body. I could take all the pharmaceuticals they offer me and live in a drug-induced coma I could make that choice. Theoretically, I could stop living if I wanted to, but I don't, because I value myself more than that. So an arbitrary law and an arbitrary decision that, for me, there is no victim, there is no crime. There's a really good resource, which is an American resource called Granny Crow's List. The last time I checked, there was about 700 conditions with links and research papers to do with cannabis, what cannabis was found to be beneficial for. If people are interested in the UK, there's local cannabis clubs.
Is it anonymous and confidential?
It's as anonymous and confidential as you want it to be. There's a network of people up and down this country doing fantastic things. They can help you find the information that you need. There are people out there that will tell you that you need this, that and the other, that want to sell you products. Anyone that's trying to sell you anything straight off the bat, I tend to just walk away from. Nobody can force people to consume cannabis. I'm certainly not an advocate for anything like that. I don't believe it's a cure-all, I just believe it's a chance.
You could easily just sit home and not go on Facebook, smoke weed, and just feel good.
But it wouldn't make me feel good. I have a need in me to let people know that there is another way. One person doesn't have to go through the heartache and the pain, and because I've researched it for them, then so be it.
Do you imagine if people consumed cannabis instead of alcohol, what Wine Street would be like on a Friday, Saturday night?
It'd be quite a nice place, I reckon. Everyone would be fat and happy.
If someone starts consuming cannabis, though, this is not going to automatically happen.
It might do. I think what you'll find is that they might chuck the fucks that they had in the fuck it bucket. I'm gonna grow my body hair out, but I wanted to go full frontal. And to be honest, shaky hands and
that's not gonna be
raised blades.
That's not going to be good.
In 50 years, somebody will look back and watch this and go, what the fuck were they talking about? Cannabis illegal? How ridiculous. My journey is my journey, but there's plenty of good people that will stand next to me and walk with me and fall over the hurdles with me and pick me up and keep on walking. And I'm just blessed that they choose to do that for me. It's humbling when people go out of their way to do something for you. That's selfless. I get humbled by it, and that drives me to make sure that I'm able to do that for other people as well.
Thank you so much for talking with me, because I've learned so much.
I would.
I love talking to you.
I would stand up and curtsy, but I can't.
Oh.
I can't do much anymore. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you so much.
I loved it.
I loved it too.